Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's February 3rd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And in the end, we had a large two-tiered channel working here. Um, it didn't really help you a whole lot, except maybe we only bounced off the trend line basically once. But you can see the two tiers. You can see the midline, um, and the midline might have helped you. But for the most part, I think it might have even hampered you a little bit because it would have kept me a little bit leery of a couple of these trades um, if you're watching it there. So, but then it actually would have given you a couple more shorts if you were paying attention to it. But you didn't really need it. I mean, if you use these shorter term channels, it kept you on the right side. So I'm going to move these out of the way for now. But I wanted to show them to you. Um, but it really looks like a trading range actually um, as well. You can see the highs are there, and we spent most of the day in this range area right in here. And you can see we didn't break out till 1 o'clock or so. But yeah, sorry I had a little interruption. But yeah, tier first tier there, and then later in the day we ended up having the second tier, and it's about a measured move there. You can see the two distances. So um, you could have played it either way. Um, by the time this really, it might have helped you on this long right here. You should have been watching that regardless. But there's different ways to get to this stuff. But when you can see it bouncing off multiple different areas, if you can find it, several different reasons, it does help you on the trade. So it does help to see all of this stuff. But generally, you only got to see it one way or the other to really get a good feel. But in my opinion, all you needed were these shorter term trend lines. They all followed the rules really perfectly today. Um, price action was very straightforward as far as these shorter term channels. You can see them, you get the break, you get a move. This one right here was a little iffy. You got the break and you never could get a new low, but that's because you ended up having all this support across here and it just couldn't get below it and went higher. And another thing, before I forget, sometimes I forget these, that was your first leg up and this was a correction. And so you're looking for a measured move similar to that. And you can see we got close. We ran out of time and didn't quite get there. But that would have, once we started heading higher again, I would have been looking for that 2050 area or so for a target there. Um, and that would have got you right into the close almost. It dropped just a little there at the close. Um, and then also this first move this morning, I'd call that the first move, and then there's your second move. So you were looking for another measured move, and we didn't quite get that one either, and we kind of went into the range. But this 2024 area was really strong support, and even though we pushed below it slightly, prices didn't stay there very long. So um, really good trading day. I was done really early today. Had a big day today. Um, trying to get this thing back. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't get anything done for the phone ringing. I apologize, but I don't even remember where we were at now. Let's just back out, talk about the trades, and I'll show you what I saw. Early on, man, I saw this spike in a channel here, and you see we did have the break, two legs down on that break, and then a move to a new high. So you could have seen it that way. That's what I played early on, and that's where I made most of my money today. And then we got the break right here, and it turned out to be a two-legged break. Um, there's your first move. There's your second. We didn't quite get a measured move on that one either. I really thought we would go higher here. This little sell-off kind of caught me off guard. I took this trade right here. It worked out okay, but then it turned down quicker. No runners or anything, and it just kept going. and I wasn't sure what was going on. Thought maybe we would just go lower. Um, but then it finally found the support down here and it bounced, and it was all uphill again the rest of the day except for this little two-legged correction here. So you just never know. Sometimes we get food, and I don't see any real. I guess this wasn't really a failed second entry long here. But the fact that it didn't go higher there, there's actually a short right there, and I'm going to go ahead and circle that one green because when it turned back down there, I'm thinking, man, I should probably just take this short because I know what's probably going to happen since it's not going higher. Okay, another interruption. But yeah, there was some good reasons to enter that trade, just looking for a scalp, if nothing else. And that's how you catch these trades. Sometimes you find these little traps, and this is rangy looking. I was expecting a move to a new high because of this two-tiered range here. Um, but needless to say, it didn't matter. Once it turned down there, there's a good chance you're going to get at least a scalp out of that, and you can see you could have ridden that for several points there. Um, and we never really got a retest on this one. This is the only move that really was a little that might have caught people off guard. But there's other reasons too to be looking at this short because look at this channel working up the break, two equal legs up, and then it started heading down. So there's another reason to enter that one. Um, uh, I think the reason it caught me off guard was because I really thought we were going to make a new high here, especially with that little short trap and me going long there. And so I was looking for this thing to go on up to a new high. And so I think it was just me because looking at it after the fact, it's real obvious. And even if you look at that at the far right side, you still got your break of this little channel, two legs up to a new high, and a bearish bar right there. Just go short below that bar, and you can see what it would have led to. So, but sometimes when you're long, it's hard to reverse real quick like that. Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not. In this case, it just caught me a little off guard, and I wasn't ready for it, and I missed that trade. But I've talked about that lately. If you miss a trade like that, you can't chase it. Even though you could have jumped in this anywhere, you can't chase this trade because it could end up just like this. As soon as you finally decide to jump in right here, it reverses and goes the other way. And so you can't chase these trades. If you don't enter where you're supposed to enter, you just got to watch it move without you and wait for the next setup. And you don't really get it until you get a long way over here. And so, it's just the way it works. And sometimes we misinterpret it or we are not paying attention and we do the wrong thing. Or we just don't do anything at all. And there's nothing wrong with, let me clarify that. There's nothing wrong with not doing anything at all. If you're not 100% sure, then you're a gambler and you're gambling. And we don't want to. You don't make money gambling. As a trader, you want to take high probability trades that you have a very high, uh, very high. The odds are very high that it's going to be successful because if you take anything less, you're gambling. And if you're not sure, never guess or gamble. Just sit and wait until you are sure and things are clear and you are reading it properly. Or at least you think you're reading it properly because sometimes we think we're reading it properly and we're not. Even right here, I knew what was going on. You had the break of this channel and two legs up, but my mind was telling me, based on what I see, my experience, that we'd probably go higher, and we just didn't. We did end up going higher, but it just didn't happen as quick as that's what they do. They trick you and they fool you and they get you to enter in the wrong direction, and the next thing you know, something crazy is going on. So anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades, and wrap up today. The first trade I saw was a possible short here. Notice we're moving up, but we already had a break of this channel. Um, two legs up to a new high. There's one leg, little correction, second leg, and you pull back. You get a first entry right there. You pull back, and you get a second entry. Of course, there's no setup there. You don't want to go long. But now, if this would have ended real bullish and you could have gone long there, maybe yeah. But it doesn't. So when it ticks up and trades down and goes out right there, there's a short right there. There's a long trap. And so I like that for a possible. I did make it green. I think it's a little bit aggressive because it's such a big bar. and you can't really get in it within 2 points. So you had to be, and if you didn't enter right there with a stop, you probably missed this trade. You might have got in with a limit order right at the low there, but nothing much better than that. And it dropped real quick and then bounced, of course. And so then it bounces again. And it was tempting to go short right there, but that's going to be your first entry after that new low. And even though it's a big bearish bar, um, you've already had a break of that channel too. I forgot to put that on there. You got the break of that little channel coming down. And so, you're thinking possibility of a new low, but you got this trend. I originally had it a little flatter, I believe, until we got this stuff up at the top, and I kind of changed it. But originally, I had the trend line right there, and so um, you don't want to be going short right into that trend line, even though you've had a break of this one, because there's a good chance it bounces right across those trend lines right there, and it might even still be there. I may have had it a little bit too high. Um, Still looks pretty good there. Anyway, um, so you got to be careful about going short there. So you're better off to wait on the second entry. And guess what? It fails and goes higher. Um, and it went out it actually broke below that bar first and went out the top. I like that for a short trap. And the fact that it bounced right off the trend line to the tick. Um, so I like that to the upside. And then you get another two-legged pullback. And of course, I drew a shorter term trend line off that one. And you got a little failed second entry short. Look how bearish that bar is, but look at how they're all stacked up. So you just sit there and see what happens. And it breaks lower and turns and goes up. I didn't really like going long above that bar so much, although you could have. But when that one formed and it's still bouncing and closing right inside that trend line, I liked it. And you're looking for a new high there. Or to test this high at least, and it just keeps going. And then it pulls back. And you got your break right here. It was tempting to go long right there, but look at all that stacked up there. I felt like being that close to the high that you're better off just to kind of wait and see what happens. And I wasn't really thinking long, but it is the first break of this channel as well. So when it turns down and turns back up and you get that trap there, I like that one to the long side. And even though that bar looks it's got a little bit of a red body. Look at all the stem. I mean, it closed. That could have easily flicked up or down and closed green. So I like that little setup there because there's a trap and all. And it does move to a new high. And guess what? You get two legs back. This one I kind of went back and forth about whether or not to make it green, because we do have the break and a new high, but look, if that is a perfect repeat pattern of this. It's a little tighter and a little smaller, but it's a perfect repeat pattern with that little push down and it turns back up. And you know what happens on repeat patterns, and there is enough room, and it's a little bitty bar, so it's low risk, quick, easy scalp, and then it sells off. And it was actually tempting to go short right there, because it ticked higher and you got a new low, pull back, and then so that's a first entry, or second entry counting off this end down here. First leg up, pull back, and that would have been the second leg up. But I just don't think you want to go long after the break, and the fact that we hadn't closed above these other two, there's resistance there, and I don't think you want to go long into that. And it's a good thing you didn't if you were looking at it, because it turned straight down. And you get a failed second entry long there, so it was a little tempting to go short right there. But again, you got to close outside this little channel, and sometimes you might push just a tick or two and then turn up again. So I didn't like anything, and then you're getting so close to the lows down here, and there's no real break higher. So this was another move. You just had to watch and be patient and not counter trend trade until we got down here. And I think by this time I had adjusted this up. Even if not, you still got you're real close, and you got a new low. So I like that one to the long side, and then you get a little failed second entry short, so another long. And again, I thought we would go much higher here, This little sell-off was just a little bit. Both this sell-off and this sell-off were similar. For whatever reason, we were getting a lot of resistance in here, all the way across here. And you can look at it after the fact, and there's probably a midline right in there. Let's just copy that and move it down. You can see, yeah, there's a midline in there. And it was acting as support, and then it acted somewhat as resistance. So and that's probably what was going on with these moves right in here. This was more of a range, even though I wasn't thinking so much range at that point in time. Um, but anyway, now you're moving down. You get first entry long, pull back. There's a second entry long there. Um, it's not a very good one. Everything's below the EMA. It was the first break of the spiking channel, so you're thinking long, but you better wait on a second entry off this low, and you definitely better wait on a break of this and a new low yet. And we really didn't even have a close outside it till right here, so I don't think you want to go long there. But when you get the long trap and it breaks higher and turns and goes right out the other side, I think you got to take that second entry short and the failed second entry long right there. Actually, that's a first entry. The second entry didn't come till the next one. It was just like a repeat trap. That's a huge bar there, so that was going to be very hard to get into without using limit order. But you could have gotten filled all the way back to here on that bar. So you can still get in that one. So I still circled it, but you got to be careful what you're doing there. And then it tried to tick higher again and turn down, but I think it's moved too far by this time, right at that low to enter here. There's actually a second entry short right there, but you've already had a break of this little channel and a new low, and sometimes you'll get another equal leg, but you want to have a really good setup, and you don't get that till this bar, and that's just right there into that. It's a triple bottom. You can't go short right there, so you just got to watch that one. Same kind of deal. And then it moves down. This one was real tempting. And you could even give this one a green circle. I didn't circle it, but I would consider that I would consider that a long opportunity right there, because you've had your break, two legs, and those are two measured legs. There's leg one. You can see leg two. It's a perfect measured move to the tick, and then it bounces, and you get a nice reversal type bar below. And look at that big bearish bar. That sucks all the weak traders in that can't read the chart, and it just looks real bearish after these moves down. It just traps them, and it turns up, and off it goes. And you got enough room to get out before you get back to these highs here and the EMA. And that's another reason, because it's so far away from the EMA. Prices just don't stay away from the EMA very long, and if you get a good setup with a trap, you're probably going back to the EMA. And then it never really gives you another opportunity to enter until right here. And there's actually a second entry long right here, but I don't think you want to take it. Look at this pullback, first entry, pullback, second entry. It's too bearish. But when it gives you that one little pullback right there and gives you that trap, then I liked it. And that's the second entry long, counting off the lows. Quick, easy scalp, and then it turns back down. We already talked about that right there. That one kind of catches you off guard, maybe, but at least it did me. Because my experience tells me we were going to come back up and test this high at the very least, but it didn't happen. We just got a trap there at the little midline that runs across there. And if you were paying attention, you probably want to go short there if you're being aggressive, because that is a first entry. You're better off to wait on the second entry, and we never get one. The bottom just falls out of it. So then it bounces, and there's two legs there, then a correction, and another measured leg. So there's a two-legged pullback, although the first leg had two legs in it. So there's actually a second entry. Notice the new high, pullback, first entry, pullback. There's a second entry long right there. But it's a horrible setup. It's a horrible signal bar. So just kind of wait and see. And then it pulls back. and then it bounces, and then it tries to go lower again and takes off. So I kind of liked entering with a limit order here, although you could have used a stop. It's not a perfect signal bar, but it closes almost, at least in the upper two-thirds of this bar. Look how it traded down here and then turns up. And that was a big bearish bar right there. It looks similar to this right here. It's almost a little repeat pattern. And it's two legs back, although there's two legs in the first leg, and then it bounces. But when it turned back down here and then went back up and went out, you could have tried to enter right here on a limit order as well, and you could have gotten filled. Um, so there was a couple of opportunities to enter right there, really, and then it goes up, pulls back. First entry, pull back, and then there's a second entry, and it went lower first and then went out the top. So there's a second entry long right there. And then there's a failed second entry short right there. And actually, that's not a failed. That was the failed second entry short was here. I'm sorry. Here's your low, pull back, first entry, pull back. That's that failed second entry short. Look at that big bearish bar again. There it is again. And it traps everybody. And this is more of a breakout pullback, and it's in the middle. We weren't back to the high yet. We weren't touching the low. So I think it's a little aggressive, but it is a breakout pullback long, and you're looking for prices to test the top of this line and probably come all the way to here. And so there's some reasons to enter that one. And you almost could consider that a failed second entry short, because let me show you. Look at that little double bottom right there and that one tick. So you could almost say, hey, that's a new low right there, and then you got a first entry pull back and a failed second entry short. So that was the failed part I was kind of hinting at there. Figured I'd go ahead and explain that. But that's, you got to have a good eye to notice things like that, and you got to be paying attention. So not everybody would notice that, and so technically it is a failed second entry short, although it's a difficult one to see. It's not one that even an experienced trader may miss that. So this is not going to usually act as much as a trap as some others will. At least you wouldn't think it would, but the end result is it shot off like a trap normally does. So who's to say that it didn't fool a lot of people? So, but if you see this channel working up, there's no reason to go short right there. Your counter trend trading, prices are not off the support, the EMA, the trend line, or anything. In fact, there's probably a midline in there. It's just so tight I didn't really even draw it, but I bet you there's a midline. You can see it right there. So, a lot of people were thinking, hey, we didn't go higher. We're going to come back down and touch the line, so they're going to try to get short there probably. So I'll just leave that there. And then you get another two-legged pullback. Notice the new high pullback, first entry pullback, second entry, and this is actually your signal bar, but you could treat this as, because it went lower first and then broke and went out the upper side, and that's generally bullish. So you could have entered there like that, or you could have waited for this one, and it's a pretty big bar for a stop right there, so you might have used the limit order, and you see it pulled back and gave you another chance to enter. And this is one where, notice how it broke lower right there and then gives you a second entry long counting off the low. This is one where you want to add on and look at it go. Boom. Really nice trade. And I couldn't see entering up here. There's no setup right there. There's really a failed second entry short there. So you might have considered entering there. In fact, since it is a trap and we weren't to the high side yet, I'll go ahead and mark it. But, I mean, you're right there. You're right there at the high, and I think that was the high of the day at the time it was. So that's another reason to stay away from that trade, because that is the high of the day. And it's just, even on a trap, that's not the best place. And it looked like, notice what they did. It looked like they scared everybody probably right back out that did go long there, and then turned it up and probably trapped a lot of shorts trying to pick a top and then shot it up again. So you got to be real careful entering at those highs and stuff like that. Even if there's a trap, you need to be pretty sure that prices are probably going higher, and it probably doesn't need to be within 2 ticks of the high of the day like that. So just something to consider. And then, of course, we do turn down and we get the break. Um, Notice there's a failed second entry long there. Notice the new high, pull back, first entry, pull back, second entry, and notice how we got below the EMA. It didn't really hold there, and then we kind of had a little bunch of stacking bars and dojis. So you really just want to sit right there and see what happens. And when it tries to go higher and traps everybody and then turns down, um, I really thought that one would take off quickly. It didn't. It only broke and hung around a minute, but it ended up moving on, dropping on down pretty quick. Plus, you got the channel working down, and that's the first break. So you figure you're going to push down and make a new low there, especially with that being the first break of that little channel. But you also had to be concerned about the fact that you're looking for a new high off of this channel. Um, that's the first break of that channel. Notice we really don't have another close outside that trend line. So you had to be real careful there. But the reason you don't go long is that you just don't have a really good setup, and you don't have a break of this little channel and a new low yet, or at least an attempt at a new low. So I like that, thinking that they're probably trapping a lot of people right there, and sure enough they did. And then it bounces, and there's not a very good setup for the long here on the first entry, but then it pulls back and gives you a second entry and a fairly decent bar there. And you'd look for, and notice how when it came back, it went right back through the EMA. It didn't hesitate much there. Then it pulls back and tests it. So you figure you got to look for a second leg there. Oops, wrong line. You got your first leg, and so you're looking for a measured leg like that. And you see we kind of got it, and it hesitated, but then it pushed a little bit higher. And that was the last trade. Actually, I take that back. I marked the failed second entry short here too. Notice the pull back. You got a new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And so as soon as it broke higher, that was a failure. And there's also two legs back there. Notice this pull back. It goes higher and pulls back. If you went to a smaller chart, you'd see two clear legs and the second entry counting off the high. Plus, there's a failed second entry short, so I like that for another one. And that got you into that was actually into the 2 o'clock hour, but I marked it anyway in case anybody was still trading right then. And you got another second. Notice the little two-legged pullback. Even though that went a tick or so higher, that's still a two-legged pullback. So another second entry or a failed second entry short there. But it's too late then. And so that's really what I saw today. You could have treated it like a range. You might have seen the bigger channel, but you really didn't need any of those. If you just used your shorter term stuff, this bigger channel, it didn't really help you because you only had one bounce off of it, and so you never even really got it confirmed to the low side. Of course, if prices would have come back and bounced off of it, it would have been hard to ignore because it's obvious that that midline is right up through there. Then there's also the two tiers of this trading range, and then the second measured tier up there. So there were several different ways to see it. I think the most accurate way to trade it was the shorter term stuff. And that's generally what I'm doing early in the morning. You don't have your bigger pattern real clear most of the times. And so I'm trading most of that shorter term stuff. And right out of the gate, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 easy longs. And those are all pretty clear, easy longs. And so, if you take all 6 of those, even if you don't get anything but the scalp, then you got 6 points. And, there's some runners in here. Just about every one of those would have got more than a point for a runner. A couple of points on several of them. So keep that in mind. And somebody asked me that the other day, what percentage of your money do you make off your scalp versus runner? And I honestly don't know. I haven't run those numbers. Most of my money, I always consider that I make most of my money off the scalps, and I'll consider anything off the runners is what I call my gravy or my bonus money. It just adds to it, and But most of my money, I would say, is made off my scalp. Sometime or another, I'll try to run the numbers on it and just see what it looks like on mine and maybe share that with you. But I wanted to share one other thing. Let me find the chart. Okay, a trader sent me this chart. I'll read you his email real quick. And I just wanted to share this because I think it's very helpful. Um, this is what his email he sent me. He says, "Hey Mac, thought I would share this. Started out with back-to-back losses, but ended up with a small profit today. Just goes to show that it can be done." And that's what I'm always trying to tell you is that just because you have a loser or something, if you let it get you down, then it probably leads to more losers and a bigger loss. And but if you just continue to follow the rules, and basically what he did, he continued to just follow the rules, and he got back in it. And by the end of the day, he had a profit. And he was down 4 points at one time with two straight losers. But you can just read his thought process here. Failed second entry short. Thought they might be trying to trap shorts and make a new high, but no. So he went long right there. Um, got trapped out, got stopped out, and then this was more of a knee-jerk trade. Not happy now, so I guess he went long right there at the very high of the day, right into a double top, and he got stopped out again. And he probably thought he'd get this one back real quick and wasn't thinking and just jumped in. Some of this I'm guessing just based on reading his stuff. But anyway, he says, now I'm down 4 points. Do I keep trading? Since it was still very early, I decided to keep going and follow the rules. Two losers in a row. The next one should be winners. He takes a nice second entry short. Um, got some more. He only took a scalp, though. He didn't get any runner out of that. This one looked like a second entry short on a larger chart, and I was expecting a new low after the break of the trend line. And I like the big bearish bar just before. Maybe I've gotten lucky. Uh, but no, you had the break of this little channel, a couple legs up. So um, same thing. I was looking for a new low as well. I don't know if I had that set up on my chart. I can't remember what my chart looked like. But with that bearish bar, I probably would have tried to get in it with a limit order. It looks like you could have got in all the way back a couple of ticks in it, and it makes it even easier. But then he finds a failed second entry short, enters another one, and then he gets a second entry long, and so he recovers. And so this is just a guy like anybody else trying to learn to trade, and he's proved to himself that he can get down 8 points and come back. And so I thought that was interesting, very good on his part because most people cannot do that. Most people can't come back from one loser. Um, and when I say most people, I mean most losing traders that are trying to learn that are just consistently losing. They have a loser. The whole day ends up being a loser because they let it all shake them up, and it discourages them, and they lose their confidence. And but that's what I'm always saying about trading is that you're going to have losers and you're going to have winners. They're all part of it. So you can't get too high off a winner and you can't get too low off a loser. It's just part of what we do. You take a trade and it's a loser, well, then you got to take the next one because it's probably going to be a winner. And if you get two losers in a row, then the next one definitely probably going to be a winner if you're following the rules and doing what you're supposed to be doing. Because the odds are on your side that you're going to probably get 8 or 9 out of 10 of them right if you're following the rules. And as you get better, you ought to be able to at least get 70% if you're following the rules. You're going to be right about 70% of the time. That's what we've determined. And then if you get better at it, you can get it up to 80, maybe even 90%. And people will say, "Hi, it can't be done." Um, if you want to believe that, okay, but it can be done. Um, it's not that hard to get 4 ticks, and that's all we're guaranteeing on any trade. If you get a runner, that's just gravy. All we're trying to get is 4 ticks. And look at all the moves that move for 4 ticks, following the rules that give you the setup, following the rules. They're there. So hope that's helpful to you. I like to show stuff like that from time to time. But proud of him. Coming back from being 8 points down, that's pretty doggone good. And because there's a lot of people that can't come back from one trade and being 4 ticks down, much less 8 points. So um, that's exciting, and I'm excited for him. So, and he did send me another email today, later today. Maybe I kept it. Maybe I've already deleted it. But he had another good day today, he said, basically. So, um, 2 days in a row, and one day coming back from being 8 points down. So that's excellent work by that gentleman. He'll recognize his chart. So, um, good stuff. But anyway, that's what I saw for today. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.